Greetings, I'm Zachary Hepner. I'm pleased to share this Dvar Torah with you for Parashat Emor. Ma inyan Shmita, Eitzel Har Sinai. I'd like a stab at that question. It metaphorically means, what does Shemitah have to do with the price of tea in China? Or, why is Shemitah mentioned with Mount Sinai? But for this Dvar Torah, why is Shemitah in the beginning of Bahar following the narrative of the blasphemer? Who follows the narrative of the festivals and menorah lights and the shulchan, the pure table? Emor can be divided into the laws of the priests, laws of the festivals and menorah and shulchan, and the narrative of the blasphemer. Such non sequiturs, or perhaps brilliantly interlocking and interwoven. The Exodus Decalogue has 10 commandments, which we all have familiarity. But did you know that it's repeated? Yes, it's repeated in the Mishnah Torah, the repetition of the Torah in Deuteronomy. That's elementary. But as Rabbi Etzshalom has pointed out, the rest of Deuteronomy, until and not including the rebuke in Parashat Kitavo, is itself a very detailed extraction of the Decalogue. It's a tour de force and worthwhile to study. So is the Decalogue repeated twice? No. It's well known, not a chiddush, yet the original source is not known to me, that the Ten Commandments are again extracted, or what I call unzipped, in Parashat Kedoshim. That's for Parashat Kedoshim. So that is the Decalogue as a quatra, or said once and repeated thrice. Not exactly. Many elements of the Ten Commandments are again repeated in Emor, Bahar, B'chukotai, but this time it's different. They echo both the Exodus version and the sequence of repetitions in Deuteronomy. Let's start with a non sequitur question. The narrative of the blasphemer is the only narrative, in contrast to law, in the second half of Leviticus. What's it doing here? Ma inyan blasphemer etzel Parashat Emor. To begin to answer that question, step back and let's take a much wider view. The blasphemer narrative contains a chock full of topics. All of them Chazal jump on and see where it's situated. When you get an ice cream sandwich, you can order chocolate or chocolate chips inside the chocolate ice cream. That's called a double chocolate ice cream sandwich. I call the blasphemer the juicy narrative inside the double Shabbat sandwich. On one side, the laws of the festivals conclude with the law of the menorah and the shulchan, pure table. Another seemingly non sequitur with respect to the festivals, but read closely. It concludes, Beyom HaShabbat Yarchenu Lifnei Adonai Tamid Me B'nei Yisrael Bitolam. On Shabbat day, the priest shall arraign the bread weekly and the frankincense offering. The festivals conclude B'yom HaShabbat, a double and superfluous mention of Shabbat, on Shabbat. Let's look at the narrative following the blasphemer in Bahar. Bashana HaShvit, Shabbaton, Yihyeh La'aretz, Shabbat Ladonai, Sadcha Lo Tizor V'charmecha Lo Tizmor. Shabbaton. Again, the double Shabbat. This sandwich has the double chocolate chips on the outside. In case you were wondering, the metaphor is the double chocolate is Shabbat. What about the inside? The blasphemer narrative. What is the commandment right before the commandment in the Decalogue for Shabbat? Lo tisa et shem Adonai Elhecha lashav ki lo yinakeh Adonai et asher yisa et shemo lashav. Thou shalt not take God's name in vain. This is, maybe not precisely, but close enough, the violation of the blasphemer. Vayikov ben ha'isha ha'yisraelit et Hashem vayikalel. The son of the Israelite woman pronounced the name in blasphemy. He recited God's name in vain, or in an unauthorized manner. Chazal jump on the narrative with backstories as if they're even in the text. The story leading to the blasphemer involved murder, adultery, torts. Now here comes the big clue. It's the elephant in the room that everybody sees, yet it's invisible. The narrative goes lex talionis, that is, the law of retaliation, also called an eye for an eye. Lex talionis is well known for being in Sheni of Parashat Mishpatim. It's appropriate in Mishpatim as it discusses the laws of slaves, torts, and damages. But in Emor, it echoes the Exodus lex talionis in two manners. Firstly, lex talionis is different between Israelites, Gentiles, and slaves. With respect to the blasphemer, it's entirely unclear if his origins deem him an Israelite, an Egyptian, or possibly a slave. Secondly, the repetition of lex talionis at the end of Emor, which itself contains an explication of the Decalogue, echoes the juxtaposition of the covenant code, which immediately follows the Exodus Decalogue. That is, in the end of Emor, the theme of the blasphemer, which echoes many of the Ten Commandments, possibly all of them, including even of Kibud Av Va'em, is sandwiched between two double Shabbatot. That is a 4 Shabbat mention in total. Parenthetically, take an even bigger step back, and this theme will explain why there is a rebuke at the end of Leviticus, which echoes the rebuke in Ki Tavo, both at the conclusion to an unzipping of the Ten Commandments. This also explains Ma Inyan Shmita Eitzel Har Sinai, because Har Sinai is where the Ten Commandments were given. I'd like to end on a philosophical note. Shabbat is an affirmation of Ma'aseh Breshit and Yetziat Mitzrayim, both the creation and the active divine providence, which is constant today and always. But what does it take for someone to use God's name to utter words of blasphemy? It's the denial of either Breshit or Yetziat Mitzrayim, or both. If God is the prime source, the source of all, then to curse such a source is a complete contraindication to our understanding of God as the prime mover, and additionally of God's constant providence. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom.